folks, this is Manny again. I'm here to talk to you guys a little bit about some wraps that I created for a local music store for the Eastman Tuba EBC632 front action. You'll see some clips of it in a little bit. I created 3 parts for it. A piece for the first valve tuning slide, so your fingers don't touch the metal and protects, especially those of you who have very acidic hands. I've also created a piece near the large bell towards the bottom where your hand would cross the bell to get to your valves, the front action valves. And one more, and I tell you, this one was a bear to design, but a wrap that goes above where your hand would cross over the tube, actually your left hand, to get to that first valve tuning slide, so that again your skin doesn't touch. I had to go through quite a bit of process for that one to figure out that shape. If you've ever tried to wrap leather around anything that has a cone shape to it and a bend to it, is an extremely challenging feat, especially when you're working around this brass. You don't have anything to staple into like the upholstery guys. So it took quite a bit of measuring and creating templates and ideas before I found a solution that I think works very well. All held on by lace and little tabs. I'll show you here. These little pressed plastic tabs to hold that leather lace together. Check that out. So you might see some of those on sports bags and so forth. You don't have to use them. You can remove them and just do a square knot to tie and hold your lace on there. Look at this beautiful lace that I used for this project. It's called technically Kodiak lace, made by Tandy Leather. Whoops, I got a little piece there I can show you. But it's beautiful, it's strong. I cut the ends so that they have a little point to them. Makes it a lot easier to thread. Don't need any needles for that or anything. But it is shiny on one side. This is the top side, right? Beautiful. And on the back you have your flesh side. And basically, if you look carefully at the lacing of the instruments, you'll see both kind of go back and forth. So I'll show you how I installed the first valve tuning slide guard, and it's basically that same technique for the other parts as well. Okay, the bottom of the bell and that top bow. The top bow, not so difficult to put on. That went on pretty quickly. I only had about maybe 6 or so holes, 1/4-inch holes, to get the lace through. The one around the bell, the bottom part where your hand comes around and touches over here, that's another little bit of a challenge. Don't need any tools to install it, but again, it's getting in between the tubing that is really difficult. To start off with, no big deal. You're like, oh, okay, this is great. But once you get to the end section, that's where the challenges happen. Not a lot of room to get your fingers in there and grab the tips and pull through. But I was able to manage. My hands, pretty, fairly long fingers, fairly thin. So if you have a little bit, thicker fingertips, so forth, might be a little bit of a challenge, but can be done. You could do it with a pair of pliers to get into the real small sections if your hands are really big. But anyhow, very possible, very doable by you. What I'm offering is basically these parts. I'll be selling them for this specific tuba, the EBC632, which is pretty popular right now. That front action tuba seems to be doing very well by Eastman. It's got a lot of great artists now joining their ranks, so it's pretty impressive. But this is specifically for that model. All right, here's the walkthrough. I'm going to show you how to place this first valve finger guard onto your tuning slide. The technique I use in order to get the stitching to look good. So here's the guard. Here's lace This is called Kodiak lace, but basically it's a type of chrome tanned, I believe. Chrome tanned lace that is black, pretty strong, about 1/4 of an inch wide. Both ends are cut to an angle. That way it makes it easier for stitching, and this is also helpful for applying the larger guards onto your tuba bells and so forth. This is probably going to be the easiest one to install because you can separate the tuning slide from the instrument. The other guards are a lot more challenging because you're trying to get your fingers between tubings and so forth. And so that is a little bit of a challenge, but I was able to do it with my fingers, and I've got fairly large hands and long fingers, although thin, but I was able to grab and pull and get everything set as you saw earlier. So let's get started. Last piece also that comes with this is this little clip, which is a pressure type clip. You insert the two ends once you're done, and you pull that up, and that allows you to keep that tension. It holds it there for you, and you can create a knot. If this bothers you, if this vibrates while you're playing, if it hits the metal, which it shouldn't, it should be against leather anyway, but if it bothers you in any way, you can always remove this and just use an actual knot, a square knot, to end your tying. So here we go. We've got 4 holes on both ends here, about 1/4 inch size. And so I'm going to go ahead and place that about where I want it to be. And so what I like to do is I'm going to start here by lacing this one end through the other hole here. So this is on the inside. And what's going to happen is the technique I use here, you're going to see this, what we call the flesh side, and then the finished side, and it's going to go back and forth with each stitch that you do. You want to get your pieces here as even as possible. Okay, and the next thing I do is always in the same direction. So I'm coming from this side, my right hand, to my left, and I'm going from underneath, inside, lacing that up, and then my left side to the right, again always from underneath, pull through. Don't want to tighten anything up just yet, but what you do want to watch for is that the lace, at least me in particular, some people don't care, they just, you know, it's doing its job either way, but I like keeping them flat and the same as I'm going. So then again, right to left, pull through. Now notice here I've got the flesh side out, okay, and I'm going to continue on here. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, same thing, right to left, and last one over the top, always from the bottom through. And there I go. I've pretty much laced it up. Now what I want to do is tighten it up as much as I'd like. And so I'll pull from each hole. It's gonna tighten up nice there. And I've got my two ends. As I got quite a bit of extra lace here on the end. It's not too big of a deal. I can do a simple knot. This will allow the, make sure that that plastic holder doesn't get rattly on you, but like I said, it's an optional. Put in the two ends there, slide this through, And now you've got a little extra hanging there. It's pretty cool. If you want to put some beads on there, that'd be cool. I don't know if that'll shake though. But you do that. Maybe one more knot here. If this plastic is an issue and rattles, you can always remove this. You don't need it, and do a square knot, and that's perfectly fine. But here's the final install here for the first valve tuning slide. Okay, and if the length of this is bothering you, you can cut this. I'll probably use a blade, careful blade, like a box cutter type blade. If you know how to contact me, please subscribe. Like those of you who have already are watching these videos, thank you. And but please subscribe to my channel if you haven't. You're seeing this for the first time. So hope you enjoy, and until next time.